Page 70. Muhammad's birth in 40 years Hijri probable.
Wat vindt deze dan? Ik is daar. Wat krijg ik? Ik is slaaf. Deze dan, ik is nou krijg. Ja. Nee, dat is niks. Jullie moet weten. Deze dan, deze dan slaaf. We spelen hier niet. We spelen niet. Lachen hier niet. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil mursalin. Sayyidina wa nabiyina wa maulana Muhammadin. وعلى أصحابه وأزواجه وذريته ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. So in continuation as to last week's opening and the start of the lineage of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we established that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was from the Banu Hashim tribe, named after his great-grandfather, who then married a lady from Medina. And then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's great-grandfather, he then traveled to Gaza, where he passed away. So this week, inshallah, we will be covering the birth of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And as we all full well know, that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was born on a Monday. And as the hadith teaches us, he says that I was born on a Monday, therefore I fast on a Monday. And that's where the hadith stops. Whoever adds anything to the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam should be very, very careful in that regard. Because we often hear people say they add on to that particular hadith, making many references and many implications with regard to that particular hadith where he says, I was born on a Monday, therefore I fast on a Monday. The hadith ends there. But if you want to add onto the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you should be very, very careful in that regard. Where he warns us, he says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Man kadhiba alayhi muta'ammidan falatabawa maq'adu minan nar. Whoever lies intentionally about my name or about me, he or she should prepare him or herself a nice, comfortable place in Jahannam. So when we say something, anything, and you want to add or attach Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's name to it, be 100% sure that you are quoting accurately. Even if you have heard somebody say something in whatever platform it may be, before you relay the message, if you want to carry it over, first confirm the accuracy. Ask the speaker, wherever you might find yourself, ask the speaker, where can I reference this or where can I find this reference? If they say that they're not sure or they don't know or they can't tell you, stay away from it. Protect yourself. That the person can say whatever he or she wants to, but you protect yourself from further or falling into the trap of that particular hadith. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was born on a Monday. He says, he teaches us, and as the book says, on the 9th of Rabiul Awwal. Right, and we will go through, and why I like this particular book is, the Sheikh, he lists all the answers, but he will tell you this is the authentic one. And I know we say the 12th of Rabiul Awwal was Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's birth. So he mentions, he lists at the 9th, and he goes through further, which is the more accurate of the dates. Allahu A'lam, the best is that we know, the most authentic or the accurate part is the Monday. We hold close to the Monday. And he also passed away on a Monday. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he was born in Amul Fil, the year of the elephant. And we covered what happened in the year of the elephant when Abraha came, the then enemy of Islam, or the enemy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He came to destroy Al-Kaaba al-Sharifa. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent the smallest animal to destroy the largest land animal. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent him to destroy that. And Kisra, who was the emperor of that time, the Persian emperor, Kisra, he had a palace, massive palace. And when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was born, 14 of his balconies collapsed. So if your palace is, if you have 14 balconies that collapsed, and you still have a palace left, now you can imagine, how big that palace is, if that is still left for you to live in. And that's why I always say, people today think that they got wealth, they think they got money. Nee man, ze het gehoor van geld. Ze het gehoor van, ze het nooit geld gezien nie. May Allah grant us understanding and humility. Amen. So his beloved mother Amina says that the day that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was born, a light ensued from her that reaches the palace in Syria. And Ahmad ibn Ahmad, one of the hadith scholars and the historians, and Ad-Darimi reported saying similar things. And like we said, the 14 balconies of Kisra collapsed. And as we know, the Persians, they believe in fire, they're fire worshippers, right? And when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was born, that fire was extinguished, meaning the haqq has now come. إِذَا جَاءَكَ الْحَقِّ وَزَّحَقَ الْبَاطِلِ, right? That the haqq has now come, the truth has come, and the batil has now been pushed aside, has been removed. And what is also nice is to make a reference to this, with the connection with the fire of the Persians, is that Salman al-Faris, the Persian Sahaba, his father was the king of Persia. Salman al-Faris was actually a prince, right? And his father was the king, and on their property, his father was in charge, along with the priest, his father was in charge of keeping that fire alight. That was their duty. And Salman al-Faris found it very strange when he found, and again we see the wealth of Salman al-Faris, his father, the king, where he found a church on his father's property and they never knew the church was there. They discovered the church by accident. He says, what are you doing? Because he walked into the church and he saw people praying and he was looking for the fire, but there was no fire. And he asked him, what are you doing? What are you doing here? They said, no, they're praying. But who are you praying to? There's no fire here. So they said, no, they are praying to a living God. And Salman al-Faris was blown back. He was like, but I see nothing here. So how can you pray to nothing? They said, no, we're not praying to nothing. There is a God that sees everything. And they tried to explain the oneness, the one God in their way, like because they were Christian. And then it got his attention. And inshallah we're going to do Salman al-Faris, the young man, the young prince who left his father's kingdom in search of the truth, in eventually ending up in Madinatul Munawwara, or Yathrib at that time. It would change to Madinatul Munawwara. But we will get to that inshallah. But as we see that when he was born, his mother immediately when she told him, call his grandfather, Abdul Muttalib, right? Abdul Muttalib. And Abdul Muttalib immediately took Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to Al-Kaaba. And he gave him the name of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And as we read, Muhammad wasn't a very common name among the Arabs. Muhammad at that time wasn't a very common name. Muhammad and Ahmad has the same meaning. Ahmad means the most praised, and Muhammad means the praised one. Tahir means the pure, right? And Tahira, obviously the female version, means the pure. Okay, so when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was born, Thuwayba, the slave of Abu Lahab. Now look at how Allah changes, or how if you do things for the wrong reason, how your heart can be changed, your heart can be swayed. So he claimed to be so overjoyed with the birth of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He then releases his slave Thuwayba. He says to her, she must go. He gives her a freedom. She then becomes the witness of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and somebody very special and dear to Rasulullah, Hamza ibn Abdul Muttalib, his uncle. So they were 2 years apart. Hamza was 2 years older than him. So that's why the bond between the two of them was always very, very, very close. Right? So he then sets her free, Thuwayba becomes the milkmaid of the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Abdul Muttalib, his grandfather, gives him the name Muhammad, which at that time was not a common name. As you can hear the names, Abdullah, his father's name, Abdul Muttalib, the word Abd was always there, right? Always there. So which means they had a belief in Allah. That's what they refer to as mushrikun. Because that's what they took him to the Kaaba. To make dua, to make shukr to Allah for the birth of the grandson. But look at how amazing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's plan works out. That a name that was not common among the Arabs back then has now become the most popular name throughout the entire globe. The name of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Every second, third, fourth person is named Muhammad. Subhanallah. The most beautiful thing with the birth of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ, Muhammad, we have not sent you as but what? As a mercy to mankind. That's why we sent you. We have never seen Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, ever. Our fathers never saw him. Our grandfathers never saw him. Our great-grandfathers never saw him. The people who taught us to be Muslim 400 years ago, they never saw him. But the love that they instilled in our hearts for him, and the love that Allah put in our hearts for him, is something that is unmatched. Unmatched. I mean, if anybody were to say something to any of us, we would take it with a pinch of salt. If I say something about his mother, he would come at me, but you would stop him. Okay, I hope you're going to stop him. Ik maak dua, jy gaat hom keer. En ja, hy het groot hande. Ik maak dua, jy gaat hom keer. But you're going to stop him. But if I were to say something about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I'll have all of you on my necks. And the world on my neck. So this is the love that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that is the love that we have. And this is mentioned in hadith, where he says to his companions, I long for the day that they will see my brothers, my Muhammad. Alasna ikhwan, who are not your brothers, ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? He says, no. You're my companions. The ones that I'm speaking about, they never see me. They will never see me. But they will see my name on the page and they will believe in me. Subhanallah. Subhanallah. And that's why this book is so important, or the Tariq and the Seerah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is so important in our lives, is that we, and Cape Town, Malaysia, Indonesia, Yemen, Turkey, Pakistan, all these places where Mawlid is big. And we have that one day when we have the Mawlid of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But if you were to ask somebody, share something with me about Rasulullah, what will the response be? I heard that Rasulullah did this. Or one day, I think, I speak under correction, but one day I think he did that, and the other. Now, honestly speaking, we must be very honest with ourselves. Can that ever be true love? Can it ever be true love? I don't invest my time in learning who the Habib of Allah was. You must remember Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was on such a level that Nabi Adam alayhi salatu wasalam was created, and he asked Allah, he was the only person there, no one else. And he asked Allah, who's that there? If I'm the only one here. And he saw Rasulullah's name on the arsh of Allah subhanahu. And he asked Allah, who is, if I'm the only one here, who's that? Allah says to him, that is my Habib, he will come not now. Come long, later, he will come. He will be the last. But his following will be the biggest. And he will be the first to enter Jannah. And they will be the first to enter Jannah. Remember, we are the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. We left Ramadan now. Nabi Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, and this is, we digressing a bit, but just to show the greatness of this ummah, and the majesty of this ummah, and the rank of this ummah. The Nabi Musa, a Nabi of Allah. وَكَلَّمَ اللَّهُ مُوسَى تَكْلِيمًا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala spoke to Nabi Musa in perfect speech. Perfect speech, Allah spoke to him. Clear as eye, you hear me and Allah, they heard each other. He cried by Allah just for one day of Ramadan. A Nabi of Allah, crying by Allah for one day. Allah said, no, you had your time. That is for Muhammad and his ummah. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So this is the daraja that we have. This is the rank that we have, subhanAllah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us see the ni'mah that He has bestowed upon us. And that we must cherish it, and that we must value it, so that we don't take it for granted and You know, I think this is again my opinion. This is my opinion. That for a long time we've walked with this chip on our shoulder that we are the Ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That is why you can't give me advice. I know better. You can't reprimand me because then I'll be rude to you. You can't give me an instruction and tell you who do you think you are to tell me. You can't tell me, don't park your car there. You're blocking somebody's driveway. You must wait. We've had a masjid. You can't tell me, don't let your shoes lay out there in the front. Is this your mosque? If we learn the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and we're going to get to that point, but just to show us who Rasulullah actually was, we're going to get there inshallah in the Treaty of Hudaybiyah. The scribe for the Quraysh, Suhail ibn Amr. Rasulullah, Sayyidina Ali was the scribe of the Muslims, and Suhail ibn Amr was on the other side. And he reads, Sayyidina Ali writes, Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And everything that the Muslims write, Suhail ibn Amr has got a problem with. He first says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. He says, who is this Rahman ar-Rahim? Scratch out. We don't know this. We know Allah. You see, that's why the mushrikun, they knew Allah. We know Allah. And then scratch that out. So Rasulullah says, scratch out. But when it came to every point that they made, the Quraysh on their side, they had a problem with. And every point that the Muslims made, they had to scratch out. They had to make alterations. And the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, leave them. Give it to them. Only one point, Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu, he had a problem with. They wrote Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So he says, Rasul. Who's Rasul are you? Not our Rasul. If we agree that you are our Rasul, why are we fighting? There should have been a war here between us. There should have been no differences between us. But we don't see you as a Rasul. So you don't write in your Rasul. You write here that's Muhammad ibn Abdullah ibn Abdul Muttalib ibn Hashim ibn Abdi Manafin. You write that for us. So Ali says no. Tia will not, no. But remember, this was for 10 years of peace in the peninsula. No, they could come and go for Hajj. The agreement was whoever comes from Makkah must be sent back. But whoever comes from Medina, that goes to Makkah, they can stay there. That's how unfair this treaty was. But Rasulullah, in his infinite wisdom, in his, وَمَا يَنْتِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَىٰ إِنَّ وَحْيٍ إِلَّا يُوحَىٰ, he could see the big picture, he could see further. And this is something that is lost, that we've lost, the big picture, we've lost that. We're looking now through tunnel vision at all times. Right. So, Sayyidina Ali ibn Abi Talib says, no, I will not, I won't touch that. You are our Rasul. In fact, on that day, even Sayyidina Abu Bakr became angry. And we know Sayyidina Abu Bakr not to be a person becomes angry. He's always the calm one. And one of the Qurayshis sat that day across Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam like this, and he was playing with Rasulullah's beard, like Khazim is doing now. So, playing with his beard. But like a child, come here my boy, you look so old like that. And Sayyidina Abu Bakr was becoming agitated. And he was becoming, het hom opgewek, man. He's like, my bro, wat maak jy nou? And he said to him, my bro, moet jy doen? And Rasulullah says to him, Abu Bakr, relax man, don't, leave them man, los hulle, laat hulle aangaan. You must know how it works. You know you're going to win. You know for a fact you're going to win. You know for a fact that you're going to win. So the one is that's on the losing side. My bro, gaat jy maar aan. Dink jy maar jy wen. Jy worry nie man, it's fine. Now Sayyidina Abu Bakr is like, getting agitated. And this Quraysh is playing with the beard of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Sayyidina Abu Bakr actually puts his hand on his sword. And he says to this Qurayshi, if you want your hand to stay there and your arm to come back, keep doing what you're doing. If you want your hand to stay there and your arm to come back to you, keep doing, playing his face like that, keep doing it, playing with his beard like that. You see what happens now? Rasulullah says, Abu Bakr, relax. Relax. He saw further. And then this point here, Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You know, they had the quill. They didn't have the pen, they had the quill, the feather. They wrote with the feather. So now Ali puts the thing down and he said like this. He folds his arms and says, I'm not writing that. I'm not scratching it out. And whatever you say, Rasulullah, I'm not going to listen to you. On this thing, I'm going to fight you on this thing. We're going to scale you. You got to scale. Ali, scratch it out. It's 10 years of peace. We can accomplish so much by just overlooking this one point, we will have achieved so much instead of being at loggerhead all the time. The ulama says, at that point in time, like we all know, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was an-nabiyil ummi. He was not, we mustn't refer to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam as an illiterate prophet that is ugly. He said he was unlettered. He had the best of teachers. Jibreel alayhi salatu wasalam, through the inspiration of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, was his teacher. So he wasn't illiterate. He was not an illiterate person. He was an-nabi al-ummi, the one who was unlettered, but he was extremely brilliant. He spoke from wahi, the best teacher. He had the best teacher. So he says to Sayyidina Ali ibn Abi Talib, point out on this contract where this is written. And then Sayyidina Ali points out to him, it's there. And he takes the pen and he writes, Inni Muhammad ibn Abdullah ibn Abdul Muttalib ibn Abdi Manafin ibn Hashim. And he writes that on the Treaty of Hudaybiyah. The ulama says, after that, when he wrote it Abdi Manaf and he put the pen down, after that he couldn't read and write anymore. Subhanallah. And there was a reason why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala kept him that way. There was a reason. So that nobody could, like they're doing now, if you check TikTok, I was on TikTok, man. Not on TikTok, but I must got the For You thing. Ik heb de oud man, wat zoek ik daar zo? But I must now, I must now keep up because I must now working with you, so I must now, ik moet ook kijken wat op TikTok aangaat, man. Ik moet nou daar kijken. Right, okay, kijk. So now the people, subhanallah, sometimes I must, my wife and my children must came because I talk very, very ugly if I hear the stuff. They say to me, this person is, the people are saying, وَنَعُوذُ بِهِ وَلَعْنَةُ اللَّهِ عَلَيْهِمْ أَجْمَعِينَ, the curse of Allah be on all of them. They say that, they make the statements that shaitan came and spoke to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It wasn't Jibreel, it was shaitan. Shaitan told Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Aw Nabi. This is and in my opinion, I'm not saying this, but it's my opinion. People who say this, they're not true Christians. They hide behind the shield of saying that they are Christians. They're not true Christians. People who love and respect their religion, love and respect the religion of others. And we do it the same. We are the same. And that's why we have non-Muslim family, have non-Muslim neighbors, non-Muslim colleagues. We respect all of them. But people who talk like that, they're not true Christians. But in any case, that's what they say. Right? And on this thing, they will say that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was taught by. And this is the reason why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala kept him an-Nabi al-Ummi. He couldn't read and write. So that nobody can make the accusation that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam wrote the Quran. That is the main reason why he was unlettered. To keep him free from that. And we're going to see now, there was 2 occasions, we're going to read through it now, inshallah. We're going to get to this here, as part of this. Why he was protected from this type of fitna, why Allah kept him away. All right. So when Thuwayba was released from Abu Lahab, she now becomes the witness of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and with Hamza ibn Abdul Muttalib, Hamza also becomes his milk brother, his foster brother through this. And then, as at that time, the Arabs had lived in Makkah, they would send for people living on the outskirts, the Bedouins. They would tell them, or they would come looking for children to foster, to give them milk, to take them to the outskirts, because the Arabs back then knew that the weather was better there, the conditions, cleaner air, the Arabic was better. That's why many people say, "Well, you learn quite Arab, let the Syrian teach you Arabic." The Arabic is fasih, beautiful Arabic. But don't let the Egyptians hear you say so. They, according to them, the Arabic is the best. So let them hear you say so. But the Syrians speak very beautiful Arabic. In any case, so they send them there because they learn good akhlaq, good adab. They learn the old ways, right? The culture, the Arab culture outside there. And then they go there, they live there for 2 years. They drink from the witness, and then they bring them back. So Halima to Sa'adiyah, she and her husband now comes, and her husband's name was what? Harith. Right, the husband's name was Harith. And they come to Makkah, but they've got an old donkey with them. And she herself, she's got a small baby with her, but her breast couldn't fill up with milk. And she was a problem, the child didn't get its fill, And now the child keeps on crying because the child is hungry. And if they go to the donkey and the she camel, and the camel, they get milk from the camel also. And there was a great drought in Makkah at the time, and in the region at the time. And they lived, and there was no grass there. Diere kan nie eet nie, hulle is maar, hulle sukkel daar so. Now they come into Makkah, everybody that is there, they get a child to look after. But now what happens when you get the child, you get a stipend. Because you're taking the child with you, so they take care of you. And now they go to Amina. They go to Amina, they take the child, they take Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They says, no, you can't, you can take him, but his father died. And they said, who's looking after him? His grandfather. Problem. Because the grandfather won't pay what the father would have paid. Right? Okay. So then, she says to her husband, give him back. Let's go find something else. Find another baby. And they go through Makkah, they can't find another baby. And she says to him, listen, we can't go back with nothing. Let's go back to Amina and Abdul Muttalib and go see. They go there, and now there's good negotiations with the mother and the grandfather. But when she picks her, and eventually they go. But when she picks Rasulullah sallallahu, look at the barakah at that infancy already. Look at the barakah that he had. When she picks him up and he starts drinking on her, immediately her breast becomes filled. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he drinks to his full. He drank him full in his lap. And the same with his foster brother. Full sleep. The donkey that they were riding on immediately becomes fatter and stronger. And the donkey, like they came into Makkah lost. When they went back home, nos, the gooi donkey. Hy donkey gooi. And the camel, fat, full of milk, that the husband drank and his lap. In fact, inshallah, we're going to go to Makkah. There's a place outside there by Hudaybiyah where they sell liquor camel's milk. But you must drink it slowly, you mag het week. Starig. Drink starig, nie wild raak nie. Because camel milk is very rich. So you drink slowly. But in any case, shukran. This means die man van die Jannah, die man gaan Jannah toe. Weet jy wat julle nie, maar die man gaan Jannah toe. So they go back. By the time they went back home, by the time they got back home, the grass was green already. The fields returned back to the way it was supposed to be. And all the animals that were grazing came back to where the Prophet ﷺ is now going to stay. But so everything came back and all the animals got their fill, and the drought that was there, the barren lands was returned all back to normal again. And then the 2 years was almost up, and now Halimatu Sa'diyah is worried now. Because even in the Quran it says that when the children drink from their mothers, it was وَالْوَالِدَاتُ يُرْضِعْنَ حَوْلَيْنِ كَامِلَيْنِ لِمَنْ أَيُّتِمَّ الرَّضَاعَةَ. That when the child drinks from his or her mother, it must be for 2 years. So now she must take him back. So after the second year, Allah nerve him with Chiklano, because they think if we're going to take him back, then all the barakah is going to go away again. They go back to Makkah. And Halima to Sa'diyah speaks to Amina. Amina first says, no. This is Amina, my baby. No. He must stay here. 2 years is already long enough. Let him stay with us. And after all the begging and the pleading, Amina then says, she gives him to Halima, and then they go back. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam goes back, and he lives there, and he grows beautifully there. He stays there till about 4 or 5 years old. And as he was playing with his friends in that region, Jibreel alayhi salatu wasalam comes down. And Jibreel alayhi salatu wasalam performs the first miracle, visible miracle, that everybody can see. He opens up the chest of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and he takes out his heart, cleans it out with the Zamzam. He cleans it out with the Zamzam, and then he takes out a clot, a dark clot, out of the heart of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he says, this is shaitan, part of shaitans. Take it out, cleans it in Zamzam, in a gold dish, and he puts the heart back of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Anas ibn Malik says that he's seen the mark on the Rasulullah's chest. He's seen it there. Like anybody who's been for surgery, you got a scar. He says, I've seen that scar because Anas ibn Malik lived in the house of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam for 10 years. He's lived there, so he's seen that mark. But the beautiful thing of this event was that when the other children saw what happened, Rasulullah falling and his chest opening out, and they ran to Halima. They said Muhammad was killed. And her nerves were middle klaar. Her nerves, because I now insisted for this mommy to leave the child by me for another 2 years, for a longer period. Hier gaat ek dood. La ilaha illallah. Groot bala. She comes running there and they find Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in perfect condition. Now, question. Is this possible, yes or no? Why is it possible? How is it possible?
Because I believe it's
Okay, so, right. I'm going to tell you now, Ahmad, I'm somebody who don't believe in hadith. Ahmad, I don't believe in hadith. Remember the khutbah that I had? So Ahmad, I don't believe in hadith. You telling me that a mystical being came and he took a young boy and he opened up his chest and then he took out his heart, cleaned out his heart, put it back in, put everything back together, and then the young boy was fine. How can that be possible? If somebody must knock you with anything, in that day and age, that equipment wasn't even present to do those type of things. So how can this even be possible? Huh? Okay, but remember, I don't believe in hadith. Ek ga 'n bietjie stief van hand. I didn't believe in hadith. I only believe in the Quran. The Quran doesn't mention that. The Quran didn't mention that. The Quran didn't mention that. The opening of the heart and Jibreel coming down and all that. The Quran doesn't mention that things. So how do you convince somebody that the Quran, if that the Quran doesn't mention that, how can it be part of the deen? How can we as believers believe such things? That the Quran doesn't mention such a great event, that a young boy was Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. His heart was taken out, cleansed out, finished, and then put back, and then no mention in the Quran, nothing like that. Okay, quick answer. Quick answer for that is, so firstly, we just finished Isha Salah now. Finish Isha Salah. Not a raka'ah is described in the Quran, but we make it. Even those who believe that they believe only in the Quran, they make Salah with you. 4 raka'ats for Isha, 3 raka'ats for Maghrib, 2 raka'ats for Fajr, 4 for Dhuhr and 4 for Asr. They make it with you, but they say they only believe in the Quran. There's nothing like that mentioned in the Quran. No raka'ats. Right? No time given also of Fajr, Salah, Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib. That's all mentioned in Hadith. Now coming back to the point of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and why we believe in things like this. Right? So these are things, have we seen it or haven't we seen it? Is it seen or unseen? We never saw it.
We never saw it.
Right. So what is the first criteria for a believer? Allah mentions in the Quran, the first thing. Alladhina yu'minuna bil ghaib. Believe in the unseen. So Allah said, is so. The same thing. Now they say to us, for example, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could have done all these things directly. No problem. Why then did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we're going to celebrate Hajj now. And the reason why we're celebrating Hajj is the sacrifice of Nabi Ibrahim alayhi salatu salam, Nabi Ismail, and the ram. Why did Allah just send the ram? Why did Allah say to him, cut your son? And then when everything was almost done, now Allah sent the ram. To test us also. What will you believe about me? How will you defend your Habib? Or how will you, as a believer, believe details about him, which is to be true, because everything, and that's why everything you will see that written in this book, there's a name next to the reference. As Anas says, he saw the mark, and every footnote here, Ibn Ishaq, Sahih Muslim, and everything at the bottom, Uncle Asim see them, Muhammad see that at the bottom of the footnotes, every reference is here. you can go and check. If you think that something is doubtful here, go check it. And there says the Sahih Muslim, there says there again, Sahih Muslims, everything is reference, everything is authentic. Right, okay. So now they can say, yeah, but how can he survive that? Do you know what's the closest a person comes to dying? When a woman gives birth. That's the closest a person comes to dying. That's the closest pain that you're feeling. Many doctors say that is on the bridge of life and death. That little area, that little gap there. It's like a 50-50 thing. You can live or you can die. That's why sometimes the hard choices to make for a father is you choose the mother, you choose the child. Right? So, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this is, we're not going to go into that now. That is another topic. We're going to divert it. But this is something, subhanAllah, one of the miracles of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So when this is one of the first things that he could do. And if we want to be selective of the miracles of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, how much do you really love him? And you must remember, I was saying something like, I am of the Quran, I don't follow the hadith. Right? So if you follow the Quran only, then you cannot love Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. It is impossible for you. Then you cannot at all claim that I love Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then what? Then you cannot be a Muslim. It is a whole series of events. All combined. Everything comes together. Because our deen, and Allah could have revealed the Quran. There, you come here, here's a Quran for you. Here's a Quran for you. Allah chose him. That's why Allah didn't just send him as what? As a person to give legislation to a nation of people. Allah sent him as mercy. So loving him will then bring love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Qul in kuntum tuhibbuna Allah fattabi'uni yuhibbukumullah yaghfir lakum. You see, it's a series of Qul in kuntum, Muhammad, tell them, if they love me, they must follow you. Then Allah will love them again. It is this thing, it's just a system. So Allah says in the Quran, like I say, that's why I say you cannot love Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You cannot be Muslim if you don't follow the hadith. Fattabi'uni. It is what is it called in Arabic? A fi'alul amr. It's a command form of the plural form, command word. Fattabi'uni. Follow me. All of you must follow him. All of us, we must. We don't have a choice. We don't have a choice in that matter. Meaning, you can't say today, and that is why sometimes people ask me, hoe gaat het in the Jum'ah? Sit voor. Go forward. Why are you about that? Coming to the front, sit in the front. Because the hadith says so. Filling the masjid from the front. The hadith says that. If we're going to become of the nation that say, no man, where's the entrance? If I sit here, then I'm far from the door. And if the imam greet, I must be out by the door first. No man, this is not going to work. How sincere are you? What is the level of sincerity? All these things. That's why I say ask the question from the beginning again. If you say that you love Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and you want to be selective as to what you want to do, think carefully about how much you love him. You cannot just say one day, today is the 12th of Rabiul Awwal, and there's not me speaking about out against Maulid. No? Don't need to be comments that say he's anti-Maulid. Don't do stuff like that. Think what I'm saying. You don't, if Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, for example, is now men, and this is now not again, you know, nowadays in this 2023, you must now talk like so in such a way that you must now say something, but you must worry who you're going to offend. You can't just talk anymore, because everybody is sensitive. If Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says to you, grow your beard and shave your mustache. Grow your beard, shave your mustache. It is a sunnah. It doesn't mean the man who's clean shaven is less of a Muslim than the man who has a beard. No, it doesn't mean that. But it's a sunnah. If Rasulullah says before you come to the salah, use the miswak, it is a sunnah. If Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says when you come to the salah, raise your lower garment above your ankles, it is a sunnah. If Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam come for the Jummah, see that you hear first, it is a sunnah. If Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says if you can walk to the masjid, walk, and if you go home, walk another way, that is a sunnah. If you say fast Mondays and Thursdays, that is a sunnah. All these things, small things. But the main sunnah for a lot of men, the main sunnah that they're after is the tui mochis butashim. That is the sunnah that they want to follow quickly. Just say, tui mochis, sunnah. Why don't they make sunnah? Dr. Sulaiman. Dr. Sulaiman said no comment. That is a sunnah. You say, brother, but fasting Mondays and Thursdays, or you say all the other sunnah, you say, nee man, hij is maar net een sunnah. 2 moties, je zegt, ja, zeg, praat, laat ik hoor, praat. Zeg, dat was een meer klas gegeven, ja. No. Inshallah, right? So, Anas ibn Malik says that he saw the mark of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that it happened. And when things like in the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's life happen, we must believe it. Or we're going to be like who? Like the Quraysh. When they asked him to split the moon in two, they said to him, if your Allah is so great, split the moon in two for us. And he said, okay, come. And there with the king, built his palace now, Jabal Abi Qubais. He took them to the mountain and he took his finger. And wallahi, you can check on any of the social media platforms that there are. You can check the crack in the moon. It's still there, still visible. What? Did you see it? Huh? There's the crack in the moon. That happened. Our Nabi did that. He made so with his finger, and the moon did that. The moon opened up, split, the moon split, and the moon came back together again. And what did the Quraysh say? Just an illusion. Man. Muhammad, wat tries in Muhammad, wat is in over? You know, sometimes I don't mean to just speak like this in Afrikaans, but you see, you must make it that the people understand the Kaapse flavor, man. Ja, die Kaapse gier. Right. Say, man, wat maak Muhammad jaren dit? Ze weer bezig met goed. Because they asked him, if you Allah should split the moon. He said, okay, come. And he split. And who was the first to argue with him? Abu Jahl was the first to argue with him. Always Abu Jahl. The one who set free the slave was his biggest enemy. And the one, the donkey uncle, he embraced Islam just like that. Quick. He didn't even think about it. But we're going to get there, inshallah. So we come to his beloved mother, Amina. And when he was returned back to Amina after he came from Halima to Sa'diyah, and he spent his early days there with her, and now she thought she would take him to what? To go see where his father was. His father was buried. And on her way back, as we know, she passed away. And now Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was an orphan. And that's why his love for the orphans was such a great passion for him, such a concern for him. He says, those who take care of the orphans and the kind of the orphans, they will be like this with me in the Jannah. He kept his fingers like that. Right? Will be like that with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He says, if you want your heart to be softened, put your hand on the head of an orphan. Rub the orphan's head, and Allah will make your heart soft. Remember something, and I spoke about this hadith on Eid morning, that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam delayed an Eid salah to make sure that the orphan was clothed and bathed and made look nice for the Eid salah. He delayed the complete Eid salah. En niemand het niks gesê nie. Niemand het op die grond gekap nie. Niemand niks gemaak nie. Net geskel nie. Niemand gesê waar jy by die masjid. Waar is jy met jy? Waar is jy? Waar is jy imam? Nothing like that. They knew Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And that's the rank that the orphan also has in Islam. The same like the women, orphan also has a rank. Everything in Islam has got places. And the orphan, alhamdulillah, has got a very, very high status in Islam. So all those who are taking care of orphans, all those who has kind heart to orphans, who has either orphan in their own homes, or they know of orphans and they look after them. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continue to bless you and your family. And make that little one that you're looking after be the source or the means to getting you into the Jannah. Ameen. Ameen ya Rabbal Alameen. So when she maning out, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's grandfather took him in. Muhammad wie was daar geweest? Abdul Muttalib, the grandfather, right? Years later, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was coming from Medina, coming from Makkah, going to Medina, and he just stopped by a place. He started crying, like his beard was wet of tears the way he was crying. He stopped at a certain place, and the place where his mother was buried was in a place called Abwa, right? And he was sitting there and he was crying, profusely crying. And the Sahaba were confused. They asked him, Rasulullah, why are you crying so much? He said, my mother is buried here. And he was crying. And subhanAllah, how many years after that was it? It was like 40, 50 years. And all those who have lost mothers, remember that day like it was yesterday. May Allah grant all our mothers Jannah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala raised their darajah daily. The more we make dua, the more Allah raised them. The more good deeds we do in the name, may Allah raise them. And may all subhanahu wa ta'ala, all the mothers that has passed on, Allah must grant them Jannah bi ghayri hisab. Right? Ameen ya Rabbal Alameen. So now his grandfather comes. His grandfather looks after him now. Now, there's a saying in English that goes, parents kill their children so they can spoil their grandchildren. It's true, no? Dis laat jou eie kinders dood, let you spoil your grandchildren. Yeah, experience. Speaking of experience. La ilaha illallah. May Allah grant my father Jannah. Speedy recovery. My pa het van my pak gesien, la ilaha illallah. Some days I thought, ek gaan weggaan. But then you know he's going to find you, man. Yeah. Now if I give my children, I think my pa sê, "Hoe sal jy die kinders so?" Ja, as ek kyk so confused, I sê, "Huh? What?" Sê ek, "Wat? Hoe sal jy die kinders so?" Sê ek het mos geleer by die beste. Right? So yeah, that's why I say, Abdul Muttalib, he was the same. Abdul Muttalib, he was very harsh with his children, especially with his sons. Yeah, harde oog gewees. But when he came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, different. He had a mattress. Now Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, obviously there was other grandchildren, because he was a kleinste, so there was others, and there was uncles also. But because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam lost his mother and his father, and Abdullah himself was a miracle baby, as we read last week about the spears, that the arrows that fell out and he was to be sacrificed. Rasulullah's birth, his whole journey to that point was already a miracle in itself. So he had a mattress against the Kaaba, and like we said, the closer to the Kaaba you were, the higher your ranking was in the circle. So he had a mattress in the shade of the Kaaba, and nobody could sit on there. Only Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam could sit on there with him. And he always made sure that Rasulullah was never alone, because he didn't want him to wonder, why does everybody, like the little boy on the Eid morning that sat alone and cried, he didn't want that to happen to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he always kept him close. And as we must know, if the grandparents spoil one particular grandchild, that's anders kwaad. Even the uncles and the aunties, hulle raak ook kwaad. Hulle raak ook kwaad. Right? So when they would see Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam sitting on the mattress, they would like pull him off. Then the grandfather would come and say, hey, oh, moet jy doen nie. Sit hom hier so, los hom hier. That is my kleinkind. You must know that oppas is mos so. Los hom, that is my kleinkind. Los hom hier so, laat hy hier sit. Leave him, let him sit here. And then they was like, but why? He said, one day he will hold a significant position here among you. Subhanallah. This is his grandfather talking like this. Long before the time, his grandfather knew about this. Right? So, his grandfather knew how special Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was. So there was one person living on the outskirts of Makkah, and he comes to Abdul Muttalib once, and he says to not Abdul Muttalib, Afwan, Abu Talib, because when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam became eight, his grandfather also passed away. So there was tragedy after tragedy after tragedy in the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was the ultimate one that kept the heart of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam always consoled. He always looked after him from a spiritual and emotional point of view. And then when his grandfather passed away, his uncle Abu Talib, the father of Sayyidina Ali and Ja'far, the two brothers. Ja'far was older, and he led the first expedition to Ethiopia, Abyssinia. And Abu Talib now takes care of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam for the next 40 years through Nubuwah. He takes care of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And during this time, one of the people living on the outskirts of Makkah comes in and he says, "Ya Abu Talib, we've got drought with us. It hasn't rained for many, many months. It hasn't rained. Can you please," now look again, how we say that they were mushrikun, because they knew about the Rabbul Kaaba, Allah, they knew about, but they worshipped in idols. So he then says, "Ya Abu Talib, can you please make dua?" Then Abu Talib takes Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam with him to the Kaaba. He says, as they were making dua, including Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he saw the clouds coming from the directions. To what? And the rain was coming, and then the fields were green again. And again, the barakah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And this was also before Nubuwah, before the Prophethood came. There's already barakah in Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Later on, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's uncle traveled with him too. or went to Syria. And as they're reaching Syria, they're coming from a certain direction. Bahira, the monk, sees them coming. And he takes Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam by the hand and he looks. And Rasulullah had a seal here. Seal of the Prophet, seal of the Buwa behind him. And Bahira looks at this and he says to Rasulullah's uncle, Abu Talib, he says to him, listen, this boy is very, very special. Don't take him with you. Don't take him with you to Syria. If the Romans find out about this boy, they're going to hurt him badly. So you take him back to Makkah. Why? He says, when you were coming, now again, the miracles of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He says, when you were coming towards me, or towards in my direction, you were coming to me, the trees and the stones made sujood for him. The trees and the stone made sujood for him. Now we know about the other story where the tree was crying for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We heard about that, right? And we know about the animal that gave shahada, right? And we know about the stone who spoke. We know about that also. And the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam instructed the stone to say, and then the stone also said, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Right. So, is anybody who has any questions up to this point, inshallah? Ja, laten we weer beginnen. Laten we weer beginnen voor die aanpassingsklas. Hulle vra eendag van, wat sê jy vir die aanpassingsklas in Engels? Hy sê, the fitting room. Hey, die Engels. Right. Is anybody wants to add something? Because everybody, we must have all read the pages. Is anybody that's got some input, inshallah? Because ek wil kies so alleen praat nie. My eetime raak gou klaar.
Wi-Fi af.
Ja, my wifi slaat nou af. Yeah. So it's now 20 to 9. If you want to keep the other parts for next week, inshallah.
The lights is going off.
10 o'clock. Okay. Right. So we're just going to do, inshallah. Hey man, is amper klaar man. Is amper klaar. Ons gaan net so vlugtig deurgaan. The Rasulullah is his occupation, how we worked, and then he's married to Khadija, and then we finish for this chapter. And we can go the next week, inshallah. Yeah. Yeah. So as we know, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was, and this is, I'm going to touch on a very sensitive topic, very, very sensitive topic. Some people think if you want to follow the sunnah and to make da'wah, you shouldn't be working. That should be your profession. That's incorrect. That is incorrect. No. If you follow the sunnah, even if you are a student of deen, you must work, especially if you're a married man. You have to provide for your family. Getting up, going finding a work, going do something. You cannot lay at home and say Allah will provide. The world has never worked that way. Ever. If that were the case, then our Nabi would want to be one of the richest people in the world. Because he had that option. Huh? He said, he was asked, you want to be like the kings and the Caesars and pharaohs and all that? He said, no. I want to be like the poor. I want my sustenance every day. Ek wil nie seker so krom geld nie. Ek moet dit uit. Ek ken nie dit aan nie, want hy nou aan nog leer. But he was a trader. He used to travel. He used to work. He was a salesperson. Right. Tajir. Yeah, he was a trader. So the word came out about him. And we all know Rasulullah's nickname was As-Sadiqul Amin. The trustworthy one, the truthful one. And then his reputation came to Khadija. Now, there's two things I want to stop here with Khadija. In a time where that part of the world was dominated by men, Khadija was a successful businesswoman. Successful. She ran her own business. She inherited this from her father, but she kept on running with it. In the time of Jahiliyyah, when your husband or the male relative, the strong male relative would die, the other uncles would come in, or the other brothers would come in, and they would steal the inheritance from children. Wallahi, it is still happening today, and the people who are doing this, wallahi, you must be careful. You must, not only for the adhab of Allah, there's a special place in Jahannam for you. Special. So jy gaat nie nog enige plek in die Jahannam kry nie. VIP in die Jahannam vir jou. Because they steal eergeld. You stealing inheritance. Ja. Iblis kry vir jou Jahannam. Jy sê, joh my broer, nee, is warm daar. Ek wil die daar gaan nie. Satan sê, ek wil die daar gaan nie. But on a serious note, this is still happening. How is still happening? Why it's still happening? That is between, and we call them exactly what they are. Between the thief and the executor and the imam. Because that's the three culprits that's involved. Always. The one who manipulates the will, the imam that nods and says yes for alles, and the executor that knows what's going on, but he kap net up. Hy praat nie because he's promised something. So hy kap net up. As alles die klaas, hy kry ek my kat, en jy gaan lekker aan met jou besigheid, you go on with your business, I get my stuff, and everybody's happy. No, you're not happy. You are not happy, because the children that you're stealing from, they are crying by Allah. They are crying by Allah, and they're telling Allah, this is what we were promised, or this is what we must get, according to our share. But so-and-so came and he took it to Allah. And you will be dealt with accordingly on the dunya and on the akhirah. And that's what happened in Jahiliyyah. No Islam that time. Now there is Islam, but it's still happening. It's very strange. It's very, for me, I cannot understand how ulama, or may Allah grant them hidayah, how ulama can sanction this, how they can say, yes, it's fine, gat me aan. You must gonna buy me so-and-so, and give me so-and-so, gat jylle me aan. Ek gaan net later tauba maak. Weet jy so nie. You must give back what you took. That's happening in Jahiliyyah, it's happening still now. May Allah protect us and our offspring. So then, before I go further, let me just say something quickly on that about the inheritance. I know it's a sensitive topic, and I know there are many, many families going through this. Especially, and on a serious note, no jokes now, on a serious note, especially where a father has married more than one woman. Halal, we're speaking about halal marriages and halal children. Every heir must get his and her share that they must allot it to. You cannot say my father was married to her for 1 year and to that woman for 10 years, she must get more than her because she's only 1 year. No, it doesn't work like that. And you cannot say I'm the buta of all the families, I must get more than everybody. No, it doesn't work like that. You must get your share and she must get her share and everybody gets their share. Yeah. It cannot be unfairness. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put the shares of every heir in the Quran, because nobody must touch thee. Nobody must pity and crap thee. Right? So may Allah protect us from this fitna, this bala that we are going through. Subhanallah. So, Khadija, the strong businesswoman, she calls for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. She says, listen here, I heard about your reputation and so on. Want to come work for me? He says, yes, okay. She goes and she sends a male servant with him to watch him. Alright? When he comes back, she sees that the prophets that she sent other people with, his is tripled. She asks, why? How? What did he do different? The slave says to her, no. You see, when he speaks to people, he speaks properly. It's honest. If you must get the 5 rand, he'll give you the 5 rand. Somebody else is going to say to you, no, I'm going to give her 4.50 or 3 rand. I'll keep the 2 rand for me. She's still going to get profit, but not as much. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave everything. And she then, as it were, because of his character and all of and his akhlaq and his honesty, interest grows. Not riba, interest between the two people. Right? Sy is alleen wat wakker is. Alles het nie gelag nie. Sy is alleen wakker. Die anders is al slaap. Hulle het al loadshedding al gehad, maar hulle het al loadshedding al. So, then the proposal comes, the marriage proposal, and Khadija is wedded to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the two, okay, quick question. How old was Khadija and how old was Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam when they got married? Okay, who else? How old was Khadija when she married to the Prophet?
50 years old.
40?
50 years old.
50? To Sulaiman? Dan di Peklan, Sulaiman spelen di Peklan. 40, she was 40 years inshallah. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was 20? 25. Very good. Alhamdulillah, 20. Alright? So, to my sisters out there, as jy oudsie lekker like, stuur my WhatsApp. Stuur my WhatsApp. Maar doen het halal, ne? Moenie nou skelmpies hê. Ja, stuur WhatsApp. Sê vir hom, kyk hier brother. Ja. Ek moet gaan met al die WhatsApps. Nee, klas. Dis ek kom eens bly, hulle kan nie die gesig sien nie. Hulle moet nie die stem hoor. Stuur maar die WhatsApp. Sê vir hom, salam alaikum, I saw you brother Juma. Re mooi kar, ne? Mashallah. Right, so ja, ne? Moenie skelmpies hê. Sê ek gaan my puta omstuur na jou toe. So laat jy reg is. Stuur maar. Gasim. Ek kan jou Stevie insit nog altyd nie hoor nie. No, you must not say no sunnah is too much. Can't you worry me? Right. So she was 40, alhamdulillah, and he was 25, and they got married. And as we know that all of his children except for one came from Khadija. So it was Fatima, Ruqayya, Kulthum, Qasim, Zainab. Ibrahim, he was the son of Maryam, the Coptic Christian. Yeah. Qibtiyya. She was brought back from Egypt, right? And as part of the whole booty, she was given as a gift to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The beautiful part of the marriage between Khadija and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was that he was only married to her. He never had other wives after her. While he was married to her, while he was married to her, there was no other women. So the claim that the enemies of Islam make, that your Prophet, he was married to more than one woman, he was lustful and all this, subhanAllah, all this ugly things said about him, it's not true. When he was married to Khadija, he was only married to Khadija and there was no one else. Even when the other wives came, none of them could fulfill her place. None of them. Right? There was this beautiful conversation between Fatima, Aisha radiallahu anha. Right? And whenever there was a festival or something, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would say, give this, tell to Aisha, tell to Fatima, go give this to your mommy's sisters. Go give it to her. And this is still the love that he had for her. And nobody could take her place. Ever. And he says to her, go give this to your mommy's sisters. And Aisha says, your daddy kan nog, gaat nou weer beetje Kaapse flavor opzet, man. Then make it this way, can remember the conversation, inshallah. You know, daddy can now go stop with this. It's every time your mommy. Mommy's dead, man. And Fatima now becomes angry. Because Fatima and Aisha was basically the same. Because passionate, very, very passionate. And Fatima goes and she walks there. And she says, hear what your wife say now? Now, when she's angry, your wife. Don't say Aisha, say your wife. Don't want to say the name. Your wife say, you must stop going on so because my mommy's dead already. He said, don't tell her, I say. That's the love of my life. And my daddy say, my mommy, Khadija, was the love of his life. Tell him, daddy, I say. Your mommy was old when he got married to her. And I was a young girl. And she says, you hear what your wife say? Every time she don't want to say Aisha's name, she say, hear what your wife say. She say, my mommy was old. And she was a young girl when you got married to her. Everything was still where it's supposed to be. He said, no, tell her I say. When the whole Makkah, and this is what broke Aisha's heart. When the whole Makkah forsook me, she stood there right next to me. When everybody turned their backs on me, she supported me. And she will always be the center of my heart. And when she told that, when Fatima walked to Aisha, she walked proudly with a massive smile on her face. And she relayed that message to Aisha radiallahu anha. And Aisha radiallahu anha says that I have never met Khadija, but I was always jealous of her. SubhanAllah. That is the love that he had for his Khadija. Khadija bint Khuwailid. Her father's name was Khuwailid. Right? And like we say, Ruqayya and Kulthum were both married to Sayyidina Uthman ibn Affan radiallahu anhu. That is why he was known, given the nickname, he was the third Khalifa of the Ummah, and given the nickname, Dhun Nurayn, the one who held the two lights, Nurayn. Right? And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says about the character of Uthman ibn Affan radiallahu anhu, he says, had a third daughter, I would also give her to Uthman. One day Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was sitting like this. He was sitting like this, so. And Sayyidina Abu Bakr comes in, and he still sits like this. And then Sayyidina Umar comes in, there's a knock on the door, Sayyidina Umar comes in and he still sits. Sayyidina Uthman, he knocks on the door and Sayyidina Uthman comes in and they ask, who's by the door? So he says, Uthman, he did this. And he sat, and he made himself right. And he sat like this, and he sat up straight. And then he welcomed Sayyidina Uthman in. And Aisha radiallahu anha asked him, my father came in. After they all left, he asked, my father came in. You sat just the way you were. And then Umar came in, and you still sat the way you were. But Uthman comes in, and you close yourself properly, and you make yourself nice, decent, and you sit up properly, and you welcome him properly. And he says, how can I not show modesty to the one, listen to the one who the Malaika even show modesty to? That is the character of Sayyidina Uthman ibn Affan. And this is why, inshallah, we're going to end off now. Stint. This is why and again I will say, even though I'm the co-imam at Masjid Rashid, this is my view, not the Masjid's view, it's mine. Any person, anyone who speaks ill of the Sahaba in any way, shape or form, even as a joke, I become very rude. And I defend them tooth and nail. And I become very aggressive. Not even as a joke do I allow things like that. Not even as a joke. Because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they were his close friends. They were his companions. Sayyidina Abu Bakr and Sayyidina Umar were both his father-in-laws. Even in the time of Jahiliyyah, Sayyidina Abu Bakr and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam were like this. They were inseparable. As teens, until Nubuwah, until the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam died. Sayyidina Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu, he was the biggest enemy of Islam. The biggest enemy. He set out to kill Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But when Allah changed his heart, he loved Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam more than anyone. Even his own children. More than anyone and anything. He loved Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Sayyidina Uthman ibn Affan radiallahu anhu, he loved Rasulullah so much that that even when and this is something, this is something that we must think about. This happened at the end when Sayyidina Uthman, just before he died. A lot of times we say, I can't stand behind him because of certain personal reasons. The Imam standing here, you walk in, you see there, Puta Dangas is standing there, of Sheikh so-and-so is standing there, and Maulana so is standing there, and Imam so is standing there. I can't stand behind him. Then in the masjid, you make another jama'ah there. Batil, your salah is not accepted. Your salah is not accepted, batil. No salah for you. This happened in the time of Sayyidina Uthman ibn Affan. That is why I say Islamic history is very, 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 very important for us to learn. The captures of Sayyidina Uthman, they held Masjid Nabawi under siege. They had adhan and everything in Masjid Nabawi. Even though they came to attack Medina, they still upheld their 5 salah. Does that even make sense? You come to kill the Khalifa. You come to take off Masjid Nabawi, but you still uphold your 5 salah. Anyway, be that as it may. The Sahaba eventually get in to speak to Sayyidina Uthman. Because remember, before they killed Sayyidina Uthman, they starved him. No water, no food can come into his house. But eventually they get into Sayyidina Uthman's house and they say to him, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, because he was the Khalifa of the time. They say to him, they took Masjid Nabawi. They lead and they're making salah there. Can we make salah behind him? He says, is salah for you fard? Yes. Is salah in Jamaat for you more rewarding than salah alone? Yes. Is salah in the masjid more rewarding for you than salah alone? Yes. And go make salah behind him. But he said, don't you do that. Don't split up the ummah. Don't split up the ummah. That is why, if you walk into a masjid and you see somebody standing there that you have got personal problems with, and you walk away or you make another jamaat inside the masjid and split, your salah is batil. There is no salah for you. That happened in the time of Sayyidina Uthman. Brothers and sisters that is here, and people that are watching on Facebook Live, when I speak like this, I don't gooi hala. I don't gooi skim to anyone. These are facts. These are truth. It's happening still in our community. We cannot understand. I cannot understand why. The evidence are all clear. Nou, I kan nie echt omstaan nie, want they doen die. I can't stand behind because there's something the other. Are you Allah? Are you friends with Allah? Can you see in that man's heart? Do you speak to Allah on a one-to-one basis? You ask Allah, kyk, Allah sê my, wat gaat in sy hart aan? Then I can stand behind him, or stand behind that imam, that sheikh, that go to that masjid. It shouldn't be like that. And the moment we're going to stop, I think, this is my opinion, the more we're going to uncover secrets of Islamic history, the more we're going to learn, and the better of our community is going to be. The better of our community is going to be. Because the thing is this, everything that we are facing, it happened before. The answers are here. The answers are here, the answers not in the air somewhere. And that is why we have these problems. Because all the unqualified people, they speak, they give. Dr. Google, yeah. They give fatwa. And when they go ask questions, this is Ahmed, this is besides Dr. Google, this is how cunning people are, man. If they ask a question, they never ask the real question. They give you a scenario. Sheikh, Imam, they by our masjid, no? They by our masjid. Let's take a scenario. They by our masjid. We've got a Hanafi Imam, but we Shafis. Can we stand behind him? Depends who you ask. It depends. If you ask a student that must, and this is what other thing that we must get out of our system. Second year and third year students of Deen, it's not your place to give answers like that. You say ask a qualified person. Now they ask a question, then like I say, depends who you ask, and they say, no, you can't. Different madhabs, you can't ask him. You can't stand behind him. Your salah is going to be batil, you can't stand behind him. Since when? Since when is the Shafi Allah and Hanafi Allah? Now this is why the ummah splits. Lack of understanding. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us of those that start loving our tariq, our seerah, and then we can start loving our Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and then loving our deen and loving each other. Ameen, ameen, Rabbal Alameen. Do you have any questions?
Coming back to the thing about standing behind a Hanafi Imam or whatever. But now there's only this one masjid in the area. Now should you delay your salah?
No. You make your salah. Make your salah. And like Tasim asked the question of if there's like one Hanafi Imam in the area. If he's an Imam with wisdom, he would tell the people, listen, he would give, first of all, he would give fiqh classes. Show them the permissible. Because remember something. Cape Townians, by the majority, or mainly, are Shafi in the madhab. Like we said after Maghrib. Right? We go to Makkah, stand behind a humble Imam.
They don't collude.
We stand behind Hanafi Imam, we don't question your salah back. Like, there you don't question your salah. Even when we come home, you're in Makkah for 6 weeks. That is 5 walks for the day. So now you're going to ask yourself a question, as al my salah wat ek daar gemaak het nou aangeneem, ja of nie? Aangeneem. Same principle. Exactly the principle. Same we go to Joburg, go to Turkey. People go to Turkey now for holiday to Turkey now. Hanafi. They make salah there also. Accept it. So verstaan ek is nie Godini. Is nie Godini. Almal is in Turkey.
No, why is that? I just want to know. Why is it Hanafi the Asr time so late?
It's the interpretation of the hadith, of the length of the shadow, of the. Say for example, the the stick or the tree, whatever the case. It depends on the length of the shadow of that particular. Yeah. So it varies. The same with the Fajr and the even the Fajr is sometimes also different. Inshallah.
You said you follow the mother that is majority within your area, right? So the Imam is Hanafi. Isn't he supposed to join the Shafi?
Look, technically, okay, okay, technically, we shouldn't confine ourselves to one particular madhab in any case.
Yeah.
That is bottom line. To be strict, even the imams themselves, the 4 imams themselves weren't strict in their madhab, saying, I follow only that, and I follow only that, and I follow only that, and I follow that.
Isn't it like it when they came to that madhab, they followed him?
Like when we made the example when Imam Shafi rahimahullah went to the masjid of Imam Abu Hanifa, he left out his kunut. And Ahmad ibn Hanbal, rahimahullah, he was a student of Imam Shafi rahimahullah. And he read hadith, and Imam Shafi rahimahullah would often ask me, Ahmad, read hadith for us because you understand the hadith better than anyone here. So there shouldn't be that strictness, that what they call, in Arabic they call it muta'assib, fanaticism. I'm just a Shafi and I'm just doing. No.
Can you as a Shafi, integrate those teachings of
This-
and try and
The formula, the formula. Now many people misinterpret that. They say you're playing with the madhab. No, what you're doing is, what you're saying is, or what you're doing is, what you're following is, you look at the hadith, you look at the fiqh of the imam, right? And then you see what is closest to the hadith, or what the hadith says. For example, me and Butashim spoke about it the other night, where I spoke to my years back about touching of the husband and the wife for the wudu and so on. Does it break? Doesn't it break? Yes or no? Now, as we know, growing up in Cape Town, that was especially in die winter. Winter is 'n gevaarlike masala in die winter. Ja, dis water is koud. Sy vat as sy wil vat, ja. Sy vat as sy wil vat, né? Solang jy ou nie hoesel is, so right. Vat op das, vat hy rap das. Ja, dan sê solang jy nie hoesel is, laat sy net vat as al. Vat net op die rap das. But this was always the thing. So what happened is I went to one of my first teachers. May Allah grant this man, subhanallah, Sheikh Muhammad Adams of Kensington. And this man, subhanallah, is one of the leading hadith scholars in the Western Cape. And now he started teaching us fiqh. And then he showed us, because he's a Medina graduate, he says, and he taught us at that time that when a husband or a man and a wife touch by accident, it doesn't nullify the wudu. Now you must know, this is in the 90s now. Ek weet ek klink nog baie oud want ek praat van die 90s. Dis al 2023 al. So now you come now out with this stuff, and then that back then. Now my daddy look at me so. What? I can't tell you the exact word my daddy used. Just remember my daddy come from the gebouw, and he's a truck driver. So you can put all the words there together. And just tell me, what is it? Yeah, what is it? And now I have to explain to them. So this is what, let's take that example. Imam Shafi rahimahullah, he translates the verse, أَوْ لَامَسْتُمُ النِّسَاءَ. Lamasa means touching, any form of touching. Touch. Whether it is accidental, whether it is inside of the hand, outside of the hand, touching is touching, doesn't, right. So, and later Shafi scholars disagree. Now we have this concept, or we have this mentality, if we disagree, we're disrespecting each other. No, it's not that. You don't agree with me today. Tomorrow there's something else we're going to agree on. And tomorrow I don't agree with you, but the day after that, we're going to agree on that also. You understand? In any case, so the other imams, they interpret that verse, or they tafsir that verse, they translate that verse as lamasa, meaning with sexual intention attached to the touching. Understand? That's why the Hanafi madhab, that's why and what they teach also, if you go for Hajj, don't take Shafi wudu, take Hanafi wudu. What is the difference? What is the difference? The wudu for the Shafi is musya, the minimum 3, Hanafi wipe the whole. But that is the sunnah. Wiping the complete head till the back is the sunnah. That is the sunnah way of taking wudu. Right? So this is all things, subhanAllah, that inshallah as time goes on we will uncover. And that's why I say, reading is very, very important. Blind following is very, very, very dangerous. Very, very, very dangerous.
Like say in Ramadan, every day you kiss your wife to go, you go to work. Now, obviously it's out of habit. You kiss your wife to go to work and you're obviously busy fasting. Is it this musna?
Nothing wrong with it.
There's nothing wrong with it.
There's no shahwa. The key word there is shahwa, desire, sexual desires, lust. There's nothing like that. Yeah, that is why even with the matter of wudu. Yeah. No, I was gonna come to that now, yeah. That's it. Jy moet Ahmad, jy moet 30 dae wat jy 'n probleem. Jy moet nou begin. Ja, jy moet nou begin. Begin nou. Jy begin jy 'n probleem Ahmad. But even like they were saying about the wudu now, and Khazim was asking about the wudu. Even that authentic hadith, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to take wudu, kiss Aisha, and stay to salah. So if it doesn't nullify the wudu, it doesn't nullify the fasting. But then there was another hadith where these two gentlemen came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, two Sahaba came, and they asked exactly the same question. Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, can I hug my wife while I'm fasting? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says to the one Sahaba, no, and he says to the other one, yes. The one Sahaba was an old man, was an elderly gentleman who could control his desire. The other one was newly married and a young man. As hy die botte langs in die oon sit, dat die botte moes melt. Khazim. Hy sê Khazim se hare bly nat.
Net getrou by die kwaad.
Khazim se hare bly nat. Sy Khazim se hare nat. But alhamdulillah, this is the beauty of fiqh. This is the beauty of it. And everybody listening there will also understand. Don't just rush and say to people, you can't do that, that's not permissible. No, my bro, relax, slow down, slow your roll. Slow down. Ask the person, can you explain why you're doing that? Slow down a bit. None of us that are living are alamat. We haven't memorized. The big sheikhs, inshallah, we will get to them when they come and they visit us. We go sit in the company. But ek en jy is alamat that got memorized books and volumes of books. Nee man. People must stop with that. Dit is haram, dit is verkeerd en dit is verkeerd. We don't do that. Don't do stuff like that. Slow down, relax a bit. Ask. One day I was sitting with my teacher. We've got now from Sirah, reg in die fiqh. But I sat with my teacher one day in Masjid Hussein in Egypt. They believe that the body of Imam Hussein is buried there. The body of Imam Hussein was cut up into pieces and spread all out to the entire Ummah. So there's no body there, and everybody knows this. But there's a maqbara there, they say it's Imam Hussein. So this person was sitting, and he was making dua, but he was facing the maqbara, the mazar or the kramat, whatever they call it today. And then I asked my teacher, because he was with me in Masjid Hussein, and I asked him, Al hadha kufr or shirk? Is that kufr and shirk what he's doing? So he asked me a question, who's he making dua for? Can you hear from you sitting? I said, no, I can't. He said, exactly. Go ask him who's making dua for. And then you ask him, and then you can then you can formulate an answer, an opinion. You can't sit here and look at a man sitting over there making dua. He might be facing in that direction, now sitting here looking in that direction. Now you assume that man is asking, making dua for the kramat, whatever the person laying there, sit ashifra. No. You don't do that. You go there, you ask him, can you explain what you're doing? Now if you understand, oh, you're doing it this way. Oh, okay, now I understand why. That's why we say, second, third year students, they mustn't talk about deen. Two. Amal, Buta Baika, Buta Asim, Hamdallah, guys, Khazim, Ahmad. Today in today's life, you will think people know Allah on the first name basis. The way of you can judge. Allah ken Allah was saam met in klas. Ja, hulle ken vir Allah klomp jare. Hulle is lank chommies. Hulle sit voor in die Jahannam nog 2-3 jaar binne die Jahannam. Jahannam is al so vol al, ek dink jy as plek vir ons. Ja. Is al so vol al, jy gaan Jahannam toe. Wat maak jy? Nee, jy gaan Jahannam toe. I was teaching in Paulsmoor. We're going to end of now, inshallah. I was teaching in Paulsmoor. And this boy's overall was here, hanging over his pants. And I see him walking past the cell, up and down. And I call him, I say, come here. Kom hier, wat maak jy? Hy sê, nee, kan nie inkom nie. Ek sê, waar kom jy? Hy sê vir my, nee, ek gaan mos Jahannam toe, man. Ik zei, voor wat? Hij zei, naar de andere molenaar die geweest het gezegd, als mijn broek onder mijn enkels is, dan ga ik Jahannam toe. Ik zei, mijn broer, Allah zie je teilen niet. Ko zei, Anissa, ko zit hij bij mij? Hij zei, redig, ik zei, mijn broer, Allah, waar niet wat de broek zegt. Mijn broer wil ze hier, kom met de manga ook aan, man. Als hij wil komen met de joggen, kom met de joggen ook aan, man. Maar niet waar niet. Ko zo naar Anas. That man is in prison. He needs Allah more than anyone. You want to tell him, Allah is going to put him in Jahannam because of his pants. Dat is onnooslik. Jy gaan nou vir hom sê, jy gaan Jahannam toe because jou broek hang hier. Wat gaat hy vir jou sê? Nee, dan gaat ek maar nie worry om recht te kom. Ek is dan klaar nie Jahannam met die broek hang. My broek hang, ek kan elke dag hier so. Ek moet nie worry om recht te kom nie. Is alright. Ek gaan maar hier bly wat ek is. People must start thinking what they're saying. Words hurt and words have power. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us understanding, grant us wisdom, grant us tolerance and acceptance. Not for the not acceptance for the haram, but acceptance to overlook small things, man. And to call people back to the proper Islam the way Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has intended that we should follow. Amin, amin, Rabbal Alameen. Subhanallah, bihamdik, ashhadu an la. Misschien mijn dochter niet? Wat het is die van de eerste motivator moet je. Wacht. Kan je zien? Hij zegt, ik blijf bij je dochters.